This is the dumbest thing ever.
Hey there, long time no see. If you missed the memo, I was kinda busy finishing university for the past couple months. But now that we're here again, it's time to channel our inner LGR and use old tech in a weird way. Allow me to introduce one of our main characters today, the Super NES Mouse. This should be a familiar accessory to most Nintendo fans, most notably used in games like Mario Paint and the Japanese exclusive Mario & Wario. It's a standard old-school mechanical mouse with only 2 buttons and is pretty straightforward, unless you're too young to know how mice with plastic balls work. The other thing I want to show here today is the Famicom keyboard. Now I see some confused looks in the audience. This was sold alongside a programming utility called Family Basic in Japan, allowing people to write their own programs and finally putting the computer in Family Computer. I actually do have the whole package and it will be interesting to talk about it in greater detail sometime, but we'll be focusing on the keyboard itself today. I've mentioned it before, but I really like how the Famicom color scheme looks on basically anything, and this keyboard is certainly no exception. Sadly, the keys aren't as clicky as you'd expect from an old mechanical keyboard, but as you can see here, it works perfectly fine on the Famicom, even if the layout isn't something I'm fully used to, but we'll get there in a minute. Now, I think you know where I'm going with this. I did post a joke picture of these two things together on Twitter a while back, and I believe some comments were wondering if this could actually be used as part of a computer setup. Thing is, one of them has a Famicom expansion connector, while the other has an SNES controller connector. But I'm sure that's nothing a few adapters can't fix. Introducing the Retrode. This little guy's main function is a USB adapter for most SNES and Genesis game cartridges so that the ROMs and save files can be dumped to a computer. It even supports other systems through additional adapters such as N64 games, and is a pretty convenient way to back up cartridge saves. Though for the purposes of this video, we're focusing on the controller ports on the sides, which serve as an adapter for both Super Nintendo and Genesis controllers. And it just so happens that this also supports the SNES mouse. It's a super straightforward plug-and-play deal, and with this, we now have the SNES mouse working on my Mac. The cursor speed is a little slow to start though, so just turn it up manually in the settings and we should be good to go. A small shame that there's no scroll wheel though. As for the Famicom keyboard, things are just a tad more complicated. My inspiration for checking this whole video idea out actually came from seeing a Famicom expansion port to USB adapter being sold by an online store, Raphnet, which specializes in making all sorts of controller adapters. Side note, I didn't get anything free from them, I just saw this adapter that they claimed supported the Famicom keyboard, thought it'd be neat to try, and picked it up for $35 excluding shipping. For what it's worth, it does come in a nice little resealable packaging. Open it up and you have what looks to be a fancy mini USB to USB cable and the adapter itself. It's cool to see the adapter and cable are separate so that the latter can be replaced when necessary. After you plug everything in though, some more adjustments are needed. The adapter itself has its own firmware and by default it is set to controller mode, meaning whatever's being plugged into it functions as a gamepad. This is normally intended for third-party Famicom controllers like this one that plug into the expansion port, and while you could use this mode with the keyboard, not all of the keys are recognized and frankly it's not that useful, you won't be able to type with it at all. To switch it over to keyboard mode, you'll need Raphnet's Adapter Management app, which is built for Windows and Linux. Good thing I have a virtual machine lying around. With the manager installed, just select the adapter, change it into keyboard mode, and voila! Now it functions as a keyboard and works about as well as you'd expect. Now this keyboard layout is obviously a little dated, and being from Japan, it uses the Japanese standard keyboard layout, so the keys for special symbols are switched around a little. Right now though, it's being treated as if it's a US keyboard instead, so the layout doesn't really match up. You could probably fix this with software if you're really hankering for the Japanese keyboard layout, but personally I'm already used to the locations of each key through muscle memory already. Speaking of which...
Okay, I think before we move on, I feel like I should give like a typing test a try with this thing, just because the layout is a little different and feeling is a little different. I'm just curious to know how well I would do typing on this, so let's just quickly do a typing test. Very clicky keys. Okay, 87 words per minute. Actually, that wasn't so bad. Like, even though the layout, like the placement of the keys is a little bit different, I actually could still like mostly touch type. I didn't actually look at the keyboard at all. But you know, if you compare this to the keyboard that I'm regularly used to typing on, wow, okay, 101 words per minute with 99% accuracy. Yeah, I am definitely much more comfortable using like a regular keyboard compared to that. But like, I think my performance on that was not bad, given how little I've actually used it compared to, you know, a regular keyboard. But yeah, this was an interesting little look at how well I can do on that keyboard.
It's also good to know that most of the special keys work as they should, including the indispensable Ctrl-Alt-Delete, as well as the Shift keys and function keys on top. Now, switching from Windows to Mac, the system actually gave me an option to switch to a Japanese keyboard layout. And it actually does work, seeing I can type the @ symbol over here. Some of them, like the yen symbol, don't work though, and strangely enough, the Shift and Control keys just don't work when in Mac mode. And now I'm typing everything like it's a super casual text message. This is probably something that could be fixed with a firmware update, and as of this video, I have sent an email to RefNet letting them know about it. So here's hoping they can fix it down the line, because then I'd be able to at least competently use this as a daily task keyboard, which would be really sick. Alright, here's the part most of you are probably waiting for. Time to plug in both the SNES mouse and Famicom keyboard and see what kind of hijinks we can get into.
Alright, here it is. We've got the Famicom keyboard and the Super NES mouse. Of course, with the original mouse pad all set up together. It's a hard slab of plastic, but as you can see here, it works. You can highlight text and erase it. So let's just go ahead and test it with some random stuff I can find on my computer, I guess. So this app here is Paintbrush. It's a free MS Paint alternative for the Mac, and I can sort of use the mouse to draw some. Wow, this is like. Also, I can't like press Control Z on this keyboard because the Control key doesn't work. So I have to use my internal keyboard for that. Oops. But yeah, the mouse speed leaves a little something to be desired, and it isn't like extremely accurate either. But you know, it sort of works for my purposes. I don't know if that's just because it's connected to the Mac side of things right now, but I can try to draw something. Yep, I tried, and that's what matters. I can tell that it doesn't do that well with like small, precise movements. Like if I try to like do like a squiggly line, it doesn't work. But if I move it like very fast, like do large, wide movements, it does a lot better. But I'm gonna demolish this drawing. It doesn't look that good. But you know, the mouse, the right click also works. It works as the eraser in this app, so that's nice. But no scroll wheel though, so you know, that's a pity. I've like desecrated this drawing now. Okay, moving on to some games. Just check out one of the games I have on my Mac, VVV, which is a really good game. But let's see if yep, it works. Arrow keys. This basically functions as a regular keyboard, minus some keys that are not working. So probably not all games will work. But for simple games like this, it should probably be fine. I mean, all this game needs is basically just, you know, the arrow keys and the space key. Very clicky though, and I don't know, sort of fits the aesthetic, I guess. Whoa. Yeah, basically plays fine with these giant arrow keys, actually. Like, they're really well designed for this type of game. Oops. And here we have a Rhythm Doctor. This was actually, I got a review code for this a while back from, I've been keeping track of this game for like a little while. It's from a bunch of people who like, clearly was inspired by games like Rhythm Heaven, and you know, got to work making this nice little rhythm game, which is has a very simple control scheme actually. All you need is one button, and all you have to do is basically press it on the 7th beat. It's a very simple but like very complex rhythm game underneath the surface. That's so satisfying. Nice. Yeah, really well fit for this type of game, and I highly recommend it. I'm still playing through it, but like, I thought like it's probably way deeper than I initially thought it was, but like, it's a really fun game. I highly recommend it. Alright, I know what you guys are here for. You want to see this Famicom keyboard being used to playing actual Famicom or NES games, so I gotcha. Let me just play Super Mario Bros. Real quick. With these giant arrow keys. finally, this is the way the keyboard is meant to be used. Very snappy. It is like the traditional... You can get world record with this, baby. Yep, this is just really sick. Feels right at home. I'm surprised they didn't, you know, make this an official control scheme. Like, I mean, this only works with Family Basic on the Famicom. At least the keyboard portion of it, I believe it is. But, they should have just made this like an official controller for games. Like, this would have been, like, really sick to play with. Alas, I can only use this on the emulator, but, you know. This is still really cool. And of course, I'm not just limited to the Famicom. I could also, you know, play for example, Mario 64, because I hate myself. Yes, look at this keyboard control scheme. Amazing. I can, like... I mean, my first time playing Mario 64 was on an emulator with a keyboard, so I don't know, this sort of feels right at home, but, like... I mean, keyboard stream time, and also, yeah, sometimes it randomly, like, if I have, like, for example, I have, like, I believe I have S on the keyboard set to, like, the R button, which basically triggers the camera view, but if I sort of, like, hold down the keyboard keys and press the jump button, which is X, it sort of, like, activates other buttons. I don't know if this is, like, the keyboard's problem. I don't think it is. It might be just the adapter getting confused, but, sometimes it kind of does that. Like, other than that, it sort of works fine. Sorry, mouse, we'll get to you in a moment. But, for now, speed strats. Whoop, there we go. Now I feel better about myself. Man, that was really hard, actually. The arrow keys, like, they may be large, but when they're trying to do, like, when you try to replicate an analog stick with this, it just doesn't really work. Now, another thing I could do is actually just emulate Mario Paint with the original SNES mouse, and some certain emulators actually do support it. But, I should be clicking on Mario, not the O. I don't want to listen to Tataka's song, but, yeah, it works basically almost fine, like, minus how the mouse just sort of, like, kind of doesn't like, small movements. Also, nice little displacement of the cursors there, but, mouse works just as well as what you expect on your hardware. I think that's how it would normally function. I need a larger pen. There we go. That's much better. I don't know what I'm trying to draw. Wing it. Okay, there's a crescent moon. Purple moon. I'm just like making stuff up. But yeah. Basically, Mario Paint works as about as what you expect. I would much rather like use a regular mouse. I'm going to emulate this, but you know, this isn't bad for those who like. I actually do have the original cartridge of it, and you know, I could just play it on SNES. But this is kind of fun. Actually, do I have my original save file on this? Load. I will load whatever is on here. I believe I do have like something saved on here. Hey, that is the photo I dumped. That is the picture I dumped from my cartridge, and whoop, there it is. Yeah, I dumped this picture that I made on actual hardware, but I can desecrate it, but I don't want to. But yeah, SNES mouse works just as fine on emulators as it does the real thing. I mean, you know, while we're here for like kicks and giggles, why not give Rhythm Heaven Fever a try? I mean, this is emulated on Dolphin, obviously, but you know, we've got these large click key arrow keys right here. We can just use them as the A and B buttons and see how well I can do in a remix. I don't know if it's like the emulator or the keyboard, but there is definitely a little bit of input lag. Yeah, there was definitely some input lag between this having to go through an adapter, this game having to be emulated, and yeah, I definitely gotta try again on that. But I definitely feel like I was pressing the button subconsciously a little bit early just to actually get the timing to match, but I'm guessing this doesn't work that well for rhythm games, but maybe I just need some more practice, but what can you do about it? Okay, to end things off, let's try something that uses both the mouse and keyboard like a first-person shooter. Now, I actually am not a fan of first-person shooters, but the closest thing I can think of that comes to that I played is Portal. So let's just, you know, give good old Portal a try on our Windows virtual machine. I hope my computer doesn't explode from trying to run this. Alright, let's give things a try. Now, over here, I think the mouse sensitivity can definitely be turned up a little bit. I mean, it's fine right now, but like I could probably manually go into the options and see if I can turn it up a little bit more. Yeah, this definitely better. But yeah, I can move around. Yep, drop that on the switch down there. Off you go. Oh. It got stuck? No. Fine, I'll take you with me. Oh! No. Put it in there. Yep. Hold it. Hold it. No. Okay. There we go. Nice. And there we go. We finally passed the test. But, yeah, this is weird. I mean, it works, but, like, it's not practical, really. Just because of how the mouse aiming, like, I imagine in an actual, like, shooter where you have to, like, aim carefully, this will probably not work that well. But, yeah. Wait, there we go. That's how you grab that cube. And, there we go. Oh, yeah, ending the video? Yeah, I'll get to that. Let me just play some Portal first with this SNES mouse. You don't get to do that every day. Oh, I died. Okay, fine, I'll end the video. Actually, I lied. I forgot I actually had Doom on here, so, you know, being one of the quintessential first-person shooters, why don't we just go ahead and try this one instead? Works just as well with the keyboard. Oh, yeah, here we go. With the SNES mouse. Time for some real action or something. I don't know. Could you believe I only really started playing this game recently? Because, you know... Oh, there we go. Ignore that guy. Just keep charging forward, opening them doors, shooting people. Whoa. Ow. That was not nice. But, wow, that was a very quick run through the hangar there. Okay. Yeah. Finally. Doom, as it is always meant to be played. You know, I only just started playing this recently, that's why I didn't pick like a higher difficulty level, but I feel like I could probably take it. But you know, one step at a time here. I rarely play first-person shooters as it is. Oh yeah, we got the shotgun. There we go. Bam! What's up, guys? Bam! 2 in 1 blow. You too. There we go. But yeah, that is Doom. I mean, it plays about as well as you expect. With a traditional ball mouse and a keyboard from 1980s. This is my... I don't actually, you know, unlike YouTubers like LGR, I don't actually collect old computers, so this is probably the closest I'll get to having an experience like that. But, yeah, that is Doom. What a funky little experience. Okay, before I finish recording for the day, I also wanted to try out whether or not this thing would actually work on a Switch as a USB keyboard of sorts. And as you can see in Animal Crossing, doesn't basically do anything. I'm guessing the adapter actually does need to interface with a PC, Mac, or Linux computer to actually work. But on the Switch, there is basically nothing. Even if you, you know, open up the OS keyboard. Also, got nothing. It does work with regular USB keyboards though, but not this. Sad times, but oh well.
And that was my test run with using the SNES mouse and Famicom keyboard on a Mac. It definitely wasn't practical at all, but hey, the fact that it's at least possible means something, right? In the end, doing weird stuff with retro game accessories like this is still something that's right up my alley. So I hope you enjoyed watching this little experiment unfold. And thanks for your patience and sticking around while I was gone. I will hopefully be back soon with new video topics that I'm just dying to talk about. Now if you excuse me, I'm gonna go find a GameCube ASCII keyboard controller now because there's apparently also an adapter for that.